Okay, welcome back to the channel. Something a bit different today because Peppy, Max is on the camera of course, and Sean. We're going to do a bit of a studio tour of the new studio now at Max's place downstairs and go through all the equipment that we use. But before we get into all this, the IT, the technical part of it, the wall, probably the first bit. We wallpapered the wall. Don't have to tell most of that. We'll whack in some pictures, some photos of us actually doing that. Wallpapering this stuff, what did we end up paying? Like $400 or $500 in total by the end of it. About that. But it does help to have a giraffe like Peppy to do wallpapering. It made it a lot easier to get to the top bits. So we went right around the wall on the backside there to give kind of this corner. It's not a huge space. We'll try to take a photo a little bit further back out to give an idea of what the space looks like. And there's a little bit of echo, which you probably get on the phone camera, but we don't get through the audio due to our mics, and we'll talk about those in a minute. The other stuff here was probably the logo, which we didn't have in the old studio at my place. We did a prototype of that, wasn't kind of the right size. Got that printed at a local kind of office place. I think that, how much did that cost, James? Not that much?
Under $100, yeah.
Under $100, yeah. Got printed out, put on a bit of foam, and then we did our lighting. So we went with a little bit extra colored lighting in this studio. So we have what we're calling the tree lights, the roof light, and then the lighting behind the logo. So each corner light, I don't think they're anything special brand-wise. They were just Amazon purchases, about $100 each. We're talking dollar dues as well, so that's in our money. Then the strip light across the top, that was yours, James. Again, I don't think they were too expensive. The logo light was $30. So that kind of colour lighting was pretty cheap for what it was for the setup, but it adds just a little bit of colour and tinge to the backdrop of a fake stone wall. The other things on this wall, as you can see with the jerseys hanging down, we'll change those out depending on what we're talking about at the time. But James came up with a bit of an ingenious way with some strips. You can't really see the cords on camera because they blend into the stone wall, but they hang down there to give them a little bit of depth so they're not sticking to the wall either. We've got some ideas to add some stuff to either wall at some point, but for now that's what we've got for our back wall. So some time lapses of us getting to that point and getting set up. James, of course, starting off with playing around with our lighting and doing that top row, and then all the hanging for the prototype logo and a few of the jerseys. Then we went into setup, trying to unravel all the cables for the desks and for the table. From there, James and I then played around for way too long trying to figure out how the setup was going to work, what the setup would look like. We started off with this long kind of angle, but we ditched this because we didn't like the camera angles and the kind of the seating for the three of us to what we're now using with the three of us across the back of the table in the podcast. As you can see, we're in the Mum's garage behind me. But continuing on with our lighting, so our two kind of key main lights, these are newer NL660s. For us, I think they're about $150 each, so between the two lights, we've got about $300. So yeah, that's the lighting setup. For cameras, at the moment we're using two GoPros, so kind of cobbled together a little setup here. Our main camera is a GoPro Hero 8, so last generation. Actually, no, they're up to 10 now, aren't they? It's only about 2 years old. That uses the main camera, and we're using this Elgato, what's it called? Flexi arm?
Yeah.
Master arm. With the extendable flexi on it, just to give us the height and depth that we need for the setup. This moves across a little bit, of course, to get the main shot. And then our side shot, we use GoPro Hero 7, so this generation before. And both of those, we're just powering them straight off the power board, so we don't have to worry about batteries doing live streams. And we do the HDMI output on those into both cam links. So we've got two cam links that then go into the laptop to give us the two streams. So we can maintain that 1080p at 60 frames without any issues throughout our streams and videos. So I'm sitting in Monk's seat now. We'll talk about the microphone. So we use these Rode pod mics. So we actually got 4 of them in case we have a 4th join, but most of the time it's the 3 of us. They all go into a Rode Procaster, which we have sitting down on, what was I think your old TV unit now, with all the other kind of spare equipment that goes out to power boards, etc., hides all that. Also, headphones. Most of them are like no-name brand headphones, so they were like $100 each, I think. Peps and I use the 2 like earmuff headphones, and James likes the earbuds just to change it up for something a little bit different. But yeah, so that's kind of what we use to do the actual podcast. So each Rode mic, I think, is about $150. And then the Rodecaster was about 800, I think, from memory. So now in my seat, so the brains of our operations, besides me, being this MSI Alienware Laptop. It takes the 2 cam links I mentioned before for the two video streams, and then takes the audio outstream out of the Rodecaster as well into this, and then we use Streamlabs on, Streamlabs equivalent of OBS to then do all that, to then do all our switching and camera management and mics, etc. For our streams. So that's the main laptop here. Jimmy uses his work laptop, which I think is a Dell, just to help with the research side of it. So this laptop, I think from memory, is about $3,000 brand new, but it's probably 5 to 6 years old by now. So whatever the equivalent now to today's money. And Jimmy's laptop was work given, so it's probably $1,000,
Paid for it myself.
Yeah.
It's my personal laptop. I use it for work.
yeah. So that's the tech and software side of it. So again, pretty straightforward, pretty low tech, but it does the job for what we need. Cool. So the final piece of our puzzle is the TV. That's where we put all our notes on. We should probably read them better and actually pay attention to what we're doing. But we use that to usually have like a sport going and the notes going on it. It's of course just sitting on Jimmy's lovely weight rack at the moment. He's trying to get huge. So it's no-name TV. It was just a cheapie. I think it was about $500. Got a discount down to 300. So again, did what we needed to do. Fits right sort of size. Fits what we've got. It doesn't need to be massive in this tiny space. I forgot to mention before our nice little trees. They are fake, of course, because we're in our little dungeon here. We get absolutely no sunlight. So both from IKEA, both roughly around $100. And they just give us like a little bit of greenage to set off our final setup. Okay, so the final pieces, I mentioned the TV, final piece of the puzzle, but the final things we forgot to mention, of course, the table, just some nice outdoors setting, a little bit smaller than the massive table we have at my place. Of course, got our Esky underneath for the cold beverages. Of course, we've got to have a cooler being on the Esky. But I think that does it for the studio tour. That's everything we use to do our podcasts. It's a weekly live stream, usually either Saturday mornings or it'll be an evening on a Thursday and Friday. And then, of course, a lot of other videos. So if you love sport, check out our On The Esky live streams.